Hello and welcome to our follow-up case study for case study number 1 that we did roughly a year ago. In this case study, we went through and looked at makeup companies, department stores, pizzerias, sports drinks, and fast food restaurants, and what they were doing on Facebook, which provided them the opportunity to do things like increase brand awareness and, of course, bring in more money for their company as an overall long-term goal. Now, in our case study, we started with Maybelline. I'm going to scroll down. And you'll notice that a lot of the companies are still somewhat making the same mistakes, but they've fixed a few. For example, Maybelline is still using a very tiny little icon at the bottom. Guys, these should be at the top. They should be prominently displayed. But it does work. I've tested all the links, gone ahead and made sure everything works. So we can close the Maybelline site. We're going to come over here. And you'll notice that they have now updated their timeline, and they have 2,665,165 likes as of the moment while we're making this video. Their tabs are updated. Everything does seem to be working. As a side note, for those who think that this new timeline is just a hoax and it's going to decrease the amount of traffic you're getting, people are going to be less likely to use it, or whatever the most prolific myth might be at the moment, it's important to note that this company has roughly doubled the response they're getting within the community. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. And I'm sure it's still growing because this company has been around for a very long time. Moving on, we checked out Oil of Olay. Now at the time, I do believe last year they were having a problem with their button. It wasn't prominently displayed, or maybe it was and it didn't work properly. Whatever the situation may have been, it does work wonderfully now, and they too have made their updates. And as you can see, they've also more than doubled their original response rate. They've added their new cover image, a really nicely branded profile image, tab images. This looks wonderful. It's doing a really good service for them. And just like with the other company, I'm sure they're still well on the rise because these guys are doing tons and tons of business. Moving on, we went into department stores and we checked out Walmart. Notably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, department store in the world. And unfortunately, they are also still way down at the bottom with a tiny little picture icon right here. In fact, if you click on it, I don't think this page has changed at all. But what has changed is that you actually have two different links that you can click on. I'm closing that here quickly. You have their page and you have their app, which if you'll notice with some of these, the apps need to be updated. A lot of them have updated their page, but they haven't updated their apps. A lot of them still have that 520 pixel wide app. It's in the center. Or you'll notice that they've updated things, but it's cut off at the bottom because the scripts they're using. I made the same mistake at first. And then just recently I noticed that even though I had all the latest and greatest tips working for me, it was still cutting things off the bottom. Guys, you can only cheat these people for so long by coming up with some fast new way to add CSS or the newest, latest, XFBML or whatever it is. Sooner or later it's going to catch up with you. We've just reverted our design to make sure it fits within the parameters. And it's what I advise you to do as well. Coming back to this, we see a company that went from just over 6 million likes to almost 17.5 million likes. That's monstrous. That's almost 3 times the amount. Huge, huge response. And all they've done is updated their timeline, added their cover image, put in their logo on the profile image. In fact, it's not even centered. They've just made the effort to show that they want it there. Updated their tabs. Nice page. Almost 3 times the response. Now, if we follow as we go through this, the concept that each like is worth, what is it, $1.32 is the going belief that each like is worth. If this is true, then the exposure that this company is getting just based on their Facebook fan page alone is worth well over $20 million a month just in business exposure they're getting from Facebook. I'm not saying it is because I'm not, some huge researcher. I'm just doing a little case study based on the responses that we got last year versus what we're seeing this year. Moving forward, we checked out Target last year, and as we scroll down, you'll notice that again, they're not putting it at the top the way they should be. I'd highly recommend that if you haven't done so. but it is a little bit bigger than the others. They're asking you to share. This is starting to fade out. You'll notice that it's still being used on Facebook with things like images and posts, but for some reason people are using this less and less. I believe that's due to the updates and some of the programs that Facebook are using. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I will keep you updated. In the meantime, the Like Us concept is still going very strong, very popular. And if we go and we click over to look at their page, you'll notice that they've updated their cover image. Their logo is nicely centered. And this is a company that I predicted last year should be competing even better with Walmart than they were. And indeed, they had at the time, I believe, 4.5 million likes. They now have nearly 15 million likes. That's triple the exposure, and they're fastly gaining on Walmart. So my prediction with the Walmart versus Target thing was right on the money, unfortunately. As we come over to Kmart's, and our follow-up here, just like many of the others, the icon is a little bit down here at the bottom, and it's really small to connect with them. The word connect is also going to be phasing out quite a bit, guys, but they're wanting people to connect via Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. That's going to be very common as time goes on, these four right here, as well as Pinterest. But we're just covering a follow-up to our case study, so let's check and see what they've done since then. As you can see, they've updated their cover image. They've really nicely updated their profile image, and you'll notice that it kind of blends in with the cover image. They've updated their tab images, and with over 1 million fans or followers or people that have clicked like, call that however you will, they've more than doubled their exposure. Now, I don't know if this is an international company the way the other two are, as I've never actually lived outside of the state of Michigan, but I do know that this is a company that 12 years ago was on the verge of bankruptcy. They have since then bought out Sears Roebuck, which is huge. And if we again look back at that figure of $1.32 per like, if that is indeed true, just based on their Facebook exposure alone, theoretically this is a company that's doing $1.32 million just based on Facebook exposure. Not bad for a company that was on the verge of bankruptcy 12 years ago. Switching over, we went into Pizza Hut, checking out the pizzerias. You'll notice that they do have a prominently posted like button, but to actually get to their fan page, if you want to actually see it, you have to come down here. The nice thing I do like, although this isn't very big, is that it is at least above what they call the fold. You don't have to scroll down. It is prominently displayed right there on the main page. So while it could be a little bit bigger and it is towards the bottom, it is within the line of sight. So if you're going left to right, top to bottom, your eye should theoretically end up down here. And again, it's above the fold. So let's take a look at their new page. Much like the rest, you can tell that they've updated their cover image. Kind of like Kmart, you can tell that the actual profile image is designed to fit right in with the cover image. They've got some really nice tab images here. And this company, as of last year, had just over 3.5 million people following. They now have almost 8 million. That's more than double the amount of people that were following them last year. Huge, huge increase. And to be honest, as we go through this, the only major change I'm seeing is the addition of the use of the new timeline, cover images, profile images, and tab images. Huge, huge difference in the way the responses are coming in. Moving forward, we have Domino's. Now, the main page itself really hasn't changed a lot. They've got different images, different promotions, but the main page actually does look almost the same. Unfortunately, what has changed is that you can't just go from here to their Facebook page. They're using what appears to be some type of a plug-in here for Facebook likes, Twitter followers, and Google Plus followers. So we're going to close that and see what kind of response they got on Facebook. Now, of course, just like the rest, they've updated their cover image, they have a new profile image, and they have tab images. And by making these changes and including this in their marketing strategy, they've gone from less than 3 million followers to almost 7, more than double the response of what they were getting last year. Again, like many of the others, this is huge, absolutely huge. Another thing that I noticed is that with Domino's, they've got pages in Australia, the UK, and even India. Oddly enough, India having the biggest response with 1.7 million followers just for people who are following Domino's Pizza in India. Amazing. Next we come into Red Bull. Last year this was our biggest response that we were seeing. They've updated their site quite a bit. You'll notice that if we come to the main site, they offer you to visit the US version or the main Red Bull site. Living here in the US, I chose to just stick with that. Now they aren't quite as much pushing the Facebook thing. However, at the same time, they are still including the like button. And if you click on the share button, you'll notice that you can share with Facebook or on Twitter. So let's see what they're doing here on Facebook. Last year, this was a company that had just over 20 million followers. This year, they've got 28,770,169 followers. Not quite as big of a spike, but considering that they started with over 20 million people, I'm sure that they're thrilled to have another 8 million followers. I know I would be. Now, for those that actually saw the case study we did last year, you probably remember that we followed that by going into Monster's energy drink, which seemed only the natural progression. And Monster at the time wasn't competing very well at all. I mean, they had a lot of followers, but they weren't anywhere near what they should have been at the time, I don't believe, and definitely not doing the greatest job competing with a company like Red Bull. At the time, I believe Monster had something like 11 million followers, which was just over half. So let's see how they're doing on Facebook now. 17.4 million followers. So from 11 million to 17 million. That's 6 million new followers in the last year. Definitely catching up. Definitely following the trend that I thought they'd be doing. And just like the rest, you'll notice that the biggest changes they're making is a new cover image, new profile image, and they're actually using the new tab system. Now, finishing this up, we went into looking at fast food. As we did this, we focused primarily on Taco Bell and McDonald's. So let's take a look and see how Taco Bell's doing. The first thing you're going to notice is that they're actually prominently displaying the Facebook image right here within the top part of the page. So let's see what kind of response they're getting over here on Facebook. A year ago, they had 6.9 million followers. Today, they have nearly 9 million followers. That may not be quite the increase that you're seeing from a lot of the other companies, but they're still doing a lot of business and they're getting a lot of attention. And with nearly 9 million people showing some love for them on Facebook, they're not doing bad. Not bad at all. Wrapping things up, we went over and checked out McDonald's. Now, McDonald's has made some changes as well to their main site. The first of which is this tiny little icon at the bottom. Now, I'm not sure why they chose to do that. It is still prominently displayed, at least on my laptop, in the top area above the fold. However, I'm not sure if that's true with everyone else. What will stand out, though, no matter what kind of computer you're on, is that this is a company that a year ago had less than 9 million followers. Today, they've updated their page. They're using the tabs. In fact, they've got 4 more that you can't see at the top here in their menu. They've got the new cover image up here. They've got their logo over here as their profile image. Everything is completely updated, and they now have over 20 million people following them. That's not only huge, that is monstrous. Looking back, the one thing that you're going to see that stands out with all of these companies is that they've updated their page. They're using the new cover image. They're using the new profile images. They're using the tabs to their advantages. Some of them still haven't updated from the 520 width to the 810 width. Some of them are trying to use fancy scripts, so they're cutting off at the bottom. Maybe you can use this if you know some people within these companies to get a new client. Maybe you can't, but what I'm telling you is that every one of them has exponentially increased their exposure right here on Facebook, and I'm certain increased their revenue on an annual basis just by making these changes. My recommendation, you should do it too. And I also recommend that you check out our other 2 case studies that are coming up. Have a great day.